Christmas was fast approaching on the island of Sodor. The Fat Controller wanted to carry out maintenance on the line as quickly as possible before the winter rush. This included refurbishing the Kirk Ronan branch, which was in desperate need of repairs. But the most important part of the plan was a new station located beside a small lake. The Fat Controller had tasked Henry with delivering supplies from Edward's station, as the tracks on the branch line had been deemed safe enough for big engines. Henry was pleased with the job, but sometimes the supply trains would be carried out during the night. He didn't like that at all. "It's simply not proper," he grumbled to Edward as he collected his trucks one night. "Why must I use the time for sleeping pulling some silly old trucks?" Edward chuckled. "Never mind," he told him kindly. "You already have to pull a train at 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm sure this will be no difference to you." "Humph! I certainly hope so," muttered Henry. "Don't get me wrong, I enjoy running at night, but I do wish I had some more shut-eye." Edward didn't reply. His attention had turned to an owl, hooting quietly on a nearby tree. "Do you hear that?" he asked Henry. Henry eyed the owl in amusement. "Yes, what about it? It's just a bird, isn't it?" "Maybe so," replied Edward softly. "But there's a legend around here that says whenever that owl hoots, a mist rolls in. Around this time of year, when the mist's about, there's a ghost about too. It roams all over the island, silently watching over those who dare travel through the fog. You best take care on the branch line, Henry." Henry snorted. "Stupid bird," he said to himself. "Owls, mist, ghosts. Oh, what a load of nonsense. Edward's going soft in the boiler. There's no mist." But as time went on, the fog grew thicker and the snow became heavier. It wasn't long before the big green engine could hardly see a few inches ahead of him. Then he thought he could barely make out something shining in the haze. "What's that?" he called to his crew. "It's an amber lamp," murmured the driver as he brought the train to a halt. "That means proceed with caution." "No one said anything about that," said the fireman. "Perhaps we should just turn back." "Certainly not," interjected Henry. "If you ask me, we should just carry on down the line until we find something worth turning back for." Henry crept slowly forward until he stopped again close to a dead tree. It had a sign on it that read, "Danger." Henry suddenly felt a little uneasy. All right, perhaps we should turn back after all," he said. Suddenly, he heard a loud banging noise coming from his left side. "Ghosts!" cried Henry. "Edward was right. Oh, let's go back. Oh, let's go back, please." The crew didn't dare argue, and Henry quickly shot back up the line. He didn't dare look back. Next morning, the mist had cleared, and one of the workmen spoke to Henry and his crew. "I don't know what you three think you're playing at," he said crossly, "but I do know that you've just set our work back by a day. What on earth were you thinking bringing your trucks back?" "We were told not to go any further by a lamp and danger sign," snapped Henry. "We were just doing what we were told to do." "Well, we made sure the line was safe, and none of us put that lamp and notice there," replied the workman. "Perhaps it was that lunatic who came to speak with us who put them there." Henry raised an eyebrow. "What lunatic?" he asked. The workman sighed. Early this morning we were preparing to start work when some old man came along and told us that the line up ahead was unsafe. None of us knew where he came from, so we just told him that everything was fine and sent him on his way. Strange fellow he was. Henry gave a worried look. What exactly was this? He asked. It was a bit before sunrise, when the mist was still in, I think, the workman told him. Why do you ask? Oh, no reason, replied Henry, still thinking about Edward's ghost story. No reason at all. That night, Henry returned to Edward's station to collect his train again. He felt very flustered. The trucks noticed this and were quick to tease him. Oh dear, one jeered. Has something spooked you, Henry? No, certainly not, huffed Henry. I'm just a bit anxious about how late we... Henry was interrupted by an owl hooting from the trees. Then, before he could say anything, Gordon thundered past with the express. Henry jumped. He felt more frightened than he ever had before. A little later, the mist had rolled in, and the snow was pouring down. As they approached the same area as they had the night before, they could see the amber lamp once again. Here we go, Henry muttered. Suddenly, the trucks began to panic in hushed whispers. They hadn't seen the lamp the night before. Next, they came to the danger sign. That was more than enough for the trucks. Faster, faster, there's a ghost about, they wailed. Stop, wailed Henry, but it was no use. He didn't notice a mysterious figure watching from the cliffs. Then it happened. Henry slowly opened his eyes. He had been thrown off the rails by a landslide. Some of the trucks had come off too, and had been badly damaged. The crew had jumped clear before the crash and surveyed the mess with the guard. Shame we didn't heed that warning this time, sighed the driver. The workmen won't be pleased, that's for sure. Lads, interrupted the fireman, what's that? Henry, the driver, and the guard looked to see a dark figure slowly walking out of the mist. Oh, horrors! Yelled Henry. It's the ghost again! He's come to hurt me more than he already has! Hurt you? Said an unknown elderly man. I was trying to do quite the contrary, actually. I did try to warn you boys about this part of the line last night. Why did you run away before I could? The driver eyed the man in confusion. Beg pardon, but who on earth are you? The old man stared. Then he chuckled. Oh dear, I'm sorry, he laughed. I forgot to introduce myself. I'm Bailey, but my friends call me Old Bailey. I live close by, up on the cliffs. Yesterday morning I came along here for a walk and noticed that the ground seemed unstable. It looked like it was going to give way any moment. So I put down a board and lamp to try and warn you before telling you about the specifics. Of course, I couldn't tell you directly because you scampered off. But when I told your workmen about it instead, they just brushed it off and carried on with their work. Not very polite, wouldn't you agree? So, Henry ventured, you're not a ghost after all? Bless you, no, guffawed Old Bailey. I was just trying to help out. Phew, sighed Henry. That's a relief. Is there anything I can do to thank you, sir? Old Bailey shrugged. Don't worry about it, he said kindly. You don't owe me anything. Just get back on the rails and get repaired. That's all I ask for. Henry now felt a little bad. Despite what Old Bailey had said, he thought that he did owe him something, but he didn't know what. When Henry returned from being repaired, he helped to finish up the last of the supply trains. As he did so, the thought of thanking Old Bailey still lingered in his mind. When he finally did come up with an idea, he told the Fat Controller about it. A few days before Christmas was the station's grand opening, and Henry and Old Bailey were invited to see it. The Fat Controller made a short speech and then turned to Old Bailey. Henry has suggested, Mr. Bailey, that after your kind efforts, it would be fitting to have you take charge of this station. He, his crew, and I can all agree that you are more than deserving of the job. Old Bailey turned to look at Henry, who gave a small chuckle. Consider it as my early Christmas present to you, he smiled. Old Bailey grinned and faced back to the Fat Controller. I'd be honored to take the job, sir, he told him. Very well, said the Fat Controller cheerfully. Let's have 3 cheers for the friendliest, ghost this island has to offer. Everyone clapped and cheered, but Henry was the happiest of all.
Edward, that was more of a Halloween story than a Christmas story.
What? But it was set around Christmas, wasn't it? Well, yeah, it was, but, it's about ghosts, not carols. Well, beggars can't be choosers.
I don't get it, though. Aren't there only 2 stations on that Kirk Ronan branch? When was there a 3rd?
There never was. That story was one of my original works, mixed with a bit of reality. So you ran out of ideas for stories, essentially.
Yes. Oof. That's disappointing. How much of it was true, then?
Stupid bird.